So I was over practicing yesterday on my wedges, and every single shot was starting left and going more left, which when you're 40 yards from the green is not a good situation unless you're planning for it, I guess. But ideally, we want to just go straight. So Ed's going to be working with me today to try to get my wedges to go straight and spin and stop.
Yep, and I had lessons here all afternoon, but I can't remember if you emailed me or texted me yesterday with your TrackMan numbers.
Yes,
you were
yeah.
practicing with the TrackMan, and what was your face-to-path averaging?
-10 or worse.
Worse.
Yeah.
I thought I saw a couple -12s and 13s.
Absolutely. Which, if you're not familiar with TrackMan, means it's
going left. And so we're gonna put him on my TrackMan, and I have a couple ideas what I think's going on, and I think you'll see we'll figure it out.
Sounds good.
Go ahead and hit some shots and
All
just
right.
get loose and just let me watch a little bit.
Yep.
I'm gonna step farther back where the camera won't get me, but.
Get there. That's pretty typical for me.
Okay.
I'd say, let's see, yeah, -6 face.
-10 face to path.
Yeah, that probably all
So
day
your club
yesterday.
pass is 4.
Yep. Which,
So you're not pulling it with the path.
right, my path, on these, my path's going to the right. Some of them, when I look at longer clubs, I think it's still path to the left sometimes, but for these, that's not really the case. It's more of a
Okay.
face thing. The other thing I noticed is we've talked about keeping our launch angle around 30 degrees with the wedge, which is good. But I've noticed the more I manipulate it, the more I was starting to kind of go even more left sometimes to try to hit that.
Okay.
There's my shank.
Yeah, we won't edit that out because we're going to video here later on how to cure a shank.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I've noticed too, is the more I manipulate my wedges and try to change little things, those start to come back in, which, you know, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Don't manipulate anything. I want you
Just
to
my
hit
normal
it so
stock.
I can see what's
Yep.
going on,
Yep.
okay?
That was pretty
That one
good.
was a little better. Huh?
Yeah. And this is pretty accurate to, I was just on the range just before this, and it was pretty accurate to those kind of left shots out there too. So I think TrackMan's right on with what's going on here.
Yep.
A little shank on that.
It was.
Sometimes I think maybe I get a little too close with my wedges on those.
You do.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. This lie angle's interesting. With it, you should be about 64 degrees
And I'm at 52.
with
so
that
I'm a
last
lot-
one. So that means it's flatter.
Yeah.
And so when that club comes in, so if I'm here at address and then I get flatter, do you see where the head goes? It goes away from you, and
Yeah.
it's going to hit the hosel. Okay.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And also then, if you don't hit the hosel, it's what I told you yesterday when I emailed you back.
Yeah.
When you sent me that, was that I figured it was your lie angles
Yeah.
were too upright. So when that shaft gets flatter, that toe gets up in the air. And then, I don't know if we can see this very well, but I'll scoot out this way a little bit. But so if that sole's flat, do you see how that's going to go straight? Do you
Yes,
see that?
yep.
But see, when that toe goes up in the air, do
It's
you
starting
see
to go
where it
more
goes?
left, yeah.
It goes left. And
Yeah.
the more loft you have on the club, if the toe's in the air at impact, it's going to be a pull hook.
Sure.
And TrackMan's going to show it. Well, it didn't really on that one because we didn't get the face angle since you shanked it. But it's going to show a closed face, it doesn't know the face is closed. It knows where it's pointing.
Yes, yeah.
And so when that toe gets up in the air, it can tell it's pointing left, and so it's going to be a big number.
Okay.
Now I'll show you, just wait here. I'm going to switch clubs.
Yep.
And I think you'll be amazed at this. I don't know if that one's got two, nope, that should be all right.
Okay.
That's my wedge. Your wedges look to me to be about 2 degrees upright. Do you know what they are?
They're actually standard.
They are standard,
Yeah.
okay. Well, this is 2 degrees flatter. And so
Okay.
let's just hit one with
Yeah.
that. And,
Just see what happens.
yep, just see what happens.
It seemed a little bit straighter.
Yeah, absolutely, huh? You'll see. A little bit. That wasn't
Yeah,
too
so,
bad.
I mean,
but that's still better.
straighter than mine were.
I agree. So swing just a little faster for
Okay.
me. That one went 50 though. That wasn't bad. Good. You'll see that one was straighter, I think.
Yeah. It's still a little left, but considerably straighter.
Yep, it is. Just keep swinging. Better lie angle there. See, we were wanting to be 64.
Okay, yeah.
So you're almost there. Good. And take a tee. Take that tee for me.
Put in front.
And put it in front, because that's the other thing that's not correct with every swing you've made.
I'm bottoming out behind.
Yes, you
Yeah.
are. That attack angle's positive.
We need that to be
and
minus.
with this sand wedge, we need to be 5 or 6
Yeah.
down. Okay.
Yep.
So you're averaging 0 right now on
Okay.
9 shots.
Yeah, so we need to get that
So I want you
steeper.
to, yes, and to hit that tee. So
Okay.
don't aim for the ball, aim
Yep.
for the tee. That was better.
That's better.
Yeah. You'll see that won't go as far left. So much better.
Yeah, we're now it's
-4.
-3, yeah.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yep.
And yes, your face to path that time was 0. And it could be a little ball position. You might have it too far forward.
I was wondering about that because I've intentionally moved everything forward because with my longer clubs, I had the tendency of being too far back. So
I agree.
It might be a consequence of that.
It could. And so,
With this, so a 56-degree wedge, you want it kind of more center, you think?
yeah, or maybe even a ball back.
Okay.
Okay.
So that might
So
be.
center's about right here. So
I think
that's
my
about-
default's been more,
yeah,
probably
and
more
that's
like a
gonna make
7-iron.
You're not going to have the right attack angle with
Probably
a wedge.
almost impossible to get
It
there.
is, because remember, he should remember this. He was videoing all this. If I sold that flat, where's the handle?
Yeah.
So you're like this.
Right.
So we got to be like that.
Yep.
And so if my hands are by my left hip still, so do that and put your hands by your left hip. And if you have that angle, where's the ball position need to be?
Middle
so-
or even very
yeah,
slightly.
so just go this way, still a ball. So not quite that far forward.
Okay.
Let's just start
Right around
right
there?
there, yes.
Okay.
And
So-
we're still going to try to hit the tee.
Okay. Wow, that looks out there.
It is out there, but hit it.
So for me right now, this feels one ball to the right of middle.
Yeah, I'd
I'd
agree with
say.
that, because
Okay.
your middle's right here.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you have to look at upper body, not your feet.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay? All right.
Okay.
That's very important. Ball position relates
Relative.
to your upper body, not
Interesting.
your feet.
I always think about it for feet.
I
so-
know, but
yeah.
but your hands are attached to the club.
Yep.
Your arms are attached to your hands, and your arms are attached to your shoulders.
Yep.
So your feet have nothing
They're
to
the
do with
last
this.
thing in the chain. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our ball positions are always
Interesting.
related to upper body, not lower body.
Well, that's one
now
thing-
you can look as a reference with your feet.
Yeah.
But see, if I have somebody, I see this all the time with big guys. I can't hardly do it here anymore, but they'll get really wide with their stance and they'll play it off this foot. But see, that ball's past their shoulder.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep. And then I'll have guys with narrow stances that'll play it off this foot, and it's almost in the middle of them.
Sure.
And so this reference down here is.
Doesn't matter as much
No,
as.
it's really not any good. I mean, you need to learn and have
So-
somebody observe you where it is in relation to your upper body.
From my longer clubs, I remember we talked about having it. I was wearing a Nike
Yes, that's
logo,
right.
and so kind of right on that swoosh of a Nike or whatever.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because a lot of players play every club from there.
Yeah.
A lot of tour players. I mean, if you think about it, that's where your left arm kind of gets to square.
Sure. Yeah.
Is right here in this area here in your body.
Yep.
And so, but I'm a fan of that, especially 6-iron on down, playing it there. But with these wedges,
You want to move it more center, even
if you
very slightly
can't
to the right.
create the correct attack angle that far forward, you need to play it farther back.
Cool.
There's some players that can create that angle and play everything off of this logo on their shirt.
Yeah.
But you're talking about elite players that are doing that. So
Okay.
So good. So same thing. So let's a little far. Yeah, that's perfect.
That looks good there.
And that should make it easier to hit that tee, not harder.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and hit it there for me, and we'll see what's happening. Do it again. There's another one on the hosel. But you'll see your lie angle then's flatter. Do you
That's
see
what I was
that?
wondering about.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
all right. So we'll discuss that later.
Okay.
But your tack angle is much better, -6.
That's the thing I was looking to see is how, because I felt like I was coming
you were, but
deep into that one.
Yeah, you were. So, but don't try to go deep. Just try to hit the tee.
Yep.
And you can get just a scooch farther away. There you go.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, that's much better. Good. Still a little heely, but that's all right. Do it again.
That's a considerable change compared to where I had the ball recently. So, that's the first one that went right.
I know. Well, it was still a little on the heel there. Yeah. But we're still better, and then. But boy, that
-8.
Yeah,
is
I know.
A lot,
and then look at this spin. You've been averaging 5,000.
That's a lot.
And that's not
more
enough.
Spin. Yeah.
And so you need to have this 8,000 or 9,000 RPMs of spin.
How do you like my feet? About?
Yeah, they're
is that
fine.
Pretty good.
Yeah, you can be a little narrower. I even like narrower.
Okay.
On these shorter wedges. So, but that looks great setup.
Just a little bit further back
Yep.
again. This is kind of your old trick, like do this.
Yep, or measure with your knee.
That's also right.
Yeah.
Like 2 inches above the knee.
Yep.
Okay.
That was
much
good. Better.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, good shot. That's good. So you'll see -4, 62, not bad.
Okay.
And you see our face to path, still a little left, but that's still better, and our spin rate's getting up there.
Yeah.
So I do believe that you should have your wedges 2 degrees flatter. That's one thing, by the way, for everybody at home that not enough people know this. Almost every tour player, whatever their fitting is with their irons, but say they're standard, okay? Whatever their normal iron lie angles are, so if they're standard, their wedges will always be 2 degrees flatter than what the rest of their irons are, okay? So if they're 2 degrees upright, their wedges would be standard. If they're 2 degrees flat with their irons, their wedges are going to be 4 degrees flat.
Interesting.
And because with the added loft and shorter clubs, that's most good players miss with a wedge as a pull left.
And it's because of the angle they're getting it too flat.
And by getting that flatter, that toe down really eliminates the left shot with the wedges. And so that's what most guys do.
Interesting.
And so most people don't talk about that, and it's pretty important to understand. And fitting, being fit correctly is important.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not a fan of extreme fittings, though, unless it's a really rare case. And what I mean by extreme is if you're going somewhere and they're measuring you 4 degrees upright, 6 degrees upright.
You're probably trying to mask a swing
Well, they're
problem.
trying to mask an over-the-top swing.
Yeah.
But you're still gonna, it doesn't matter what they bend them to, you're still gonna hit it, too much on the toe. Or too much on the heel with all that. So, and so they still try to, if you're measuring that much in a fitting, run, because it's just going to screw you up. And here's why. So unless you're playing with a Bryson DeChambeau set that's the same length and same lie angle with every club, there's 4 degrees difference in every club anyway. They get progressively more upright as you get, or get
Through
flatter as you
through your
get
bag,
longer
yeah.
clubs. Yes. And so when they measure you and say you need to be 4 degrees up, well, they change every club 4 degrees, but by the time you get to 7 iron, 6 iron, 5 iron, they're still getting 4 degrees flatter each time, and it really doesn't help you much.
Interesting.
And so on tour, probably, somebody will probably know this because I don't know for sure what it is and get a comment on it, but my guess would be 95% of the tour players fall between 2 degrees flat and 2 degrees upright. You don't see them extreme one way or the other. And so, and the other misconception fitting wise is with tall guys, everybody thinks they need extra longer length clubs,
Sure, yeah.
but they don't. And that's a mistake. And so if you're 6'4" and 5 and they got you 2 inches extra long, it just made every club, as the clubs get longer, they're harder to hit, and they've just given you a whole set of clubs that's probably too long for you. Ping probably does the best job of static fitting, which is based on your size. And, you know, I'm short and fat, and a guy that's 6'6", I stand next to him, and he stands next to me, and we dangle our hand. You'll almost find that from the tips of our fingers to the ground's the same measurement.
Yep.
And so if it's the same measurement to the ground, well, they don't need longer clubs just because they're tall. They have
Sure.
longer arms.
Makes sense, yeah, that
You
to compensate
understand?
for that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what most taller players do to get a little shorter, I like taller players to have a little wider stance. And if your stance is wider, then you're shorter. If you was going to measure how tall you were, you'd put your feet together, right? That's
Yeah.
But see, as I spread my legs, I'm going to get shorter.
Yep.
And so, you know, Faldo would probably tell you that that's one of the things that Ledbetter helped him the most with. Faldo was a big, tall guy, and I think one of the main things that he did with Faldo was just got him wider with his stance, and it made him shorter.
Yeah.
And he was
Makes
more
sense.
consistent. Could play with standard length clubs.
Interesting. I've never
Yeah.
thought about that.
I know. That's another thing nobody talks about.
Yeah.
So at home, if your wedges are the same fitting as your irons and you miss them left for a right-handed player, experiment with some 2 degree flat, 4 degrees flat even with wedges. If you're like, so 2 or 3 degrees, most of the guys on tour are flatter.
Wow.
Okay?
Good.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
So
Pretty interesting, really.
yeah, I have a question for you
All right.
around all this. So one of the things, this is maybe a concept that needs to be debugged in my brain.
Okay.
So we talk about concepts.
That's my job.
Yeah,
So.
we talk about concepts are the most important thing to getting good, right? So in my downswing, when I look at on camera, sometimes I'm too open here, which then we've talked about before, causes a rotational flip.
Okay.
Do you think that happens in my short wedges like this too?
I don't.
You don't think that's
I don't
okay.
watching you, but I'll watch as you hit
Okay.
a couple more and let you know. But I don't think so.
Because one of the things
But I
on
do
the,
think maybe you flip and then that's where your attack angle's lousy and then it goes left. So.
Yeah,
But I
okay.
don't think your face is open.
Gotcha.
Is
Yeah. Okay. And so not like I'm flipping at the
Right.
last moment because
But I do think your ball position's too far forward
with wedges specifically.
off a
yeah.
level lie, yes. And that's contributing to left.
Okay.
I think your wedges need to be flatter, and that'll help you
Both
too.
of those
Yes.
variables together.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense as the ball's more forward. You're gonna have more time for the club
Absolutely.
to be closing
go around.
relative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening to you.
Yeah.
Then your attack angle, you're not going to create this 4 degree down. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hit a few more there
Yeah.
for me. I'll watch that club
Okay.
face. Okay.
Got the tee.
Yep. But you can see those are straighter, huh?
Yeah.
'Cause yesterday, he could probably show you that on screen, editing wise, but You were pretty much -10, -12.
My face to path was at least -10 on many of the wedge shots.
What you sent me, it was all minus. So,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we've cut it in half.
That's great. Yeah.
So that's good, and that's still some work to do because we need to still get a better attack angle and a better spin rate. When the attack angle is 0 or whatever, the spin rate's not going to be much.
So my spin 6,000, 7,000. Is that what?
7, 8,
8,000. That's where you want to get to with the wedge. Okay.
Yeah, 10. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I'm way under that right now.
You are, yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I have players that would love that to be their driver spin.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they're higher with
Because they're
driver.
hitting 5,000 driver spin. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So yeah, it's almost 1,000 RPMs per club.
That's what I remember you saying. 7 iron, 7,000,
yeah,
8,000. Okay.
Yeah, 8 iron.
So as you get up there, you're really talking.
See, so that's like a 11 iron.
So you might be over 1,000. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, like 11,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Understand?
Yes. Yeah. So what do you think causes the lack of spin in this?
The attack angle.
It's just not steep enough. So if
yes.
it's coming down
You're
10
not-
degrees, then it's
Yes.
gonna
Yes.
just it's gonna okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, that's I'm glad that I just hit that because that's what I've been noticing, especially when I don't have something like the T. The more steep I try to get with it, the more I shank.
I know, but
So-
you're trying to get steep with
The wrong way.
You're going the
Okay.
wrong way. You're going like this with your body.
And so
It's having the handle in front of the head. It's not. You're not trying to hit down on it.
Sure. Okay.
You're trying to have the handle ahead of the head, forward lean. And so when you're only at 1, you're only an inch of forward lean instead of 5 or 6 inches.
Okay.
Does that make
It
sense?
makes sense conceptually. It's more difficult for me
I
to
understand.
do it.
I understand. And so, but
So really all I'm trying to do is get the club
bottom-
head,
yeah, to bottom out.
get my
there.
handle here so that it'll
Yes,
bottom up.
so
Okay.
it'll bottom out in front. Yes.
Okay. I'm curious if I don't have the T, what happens if I just hit
Try it.
a normal one?
Good. So that's
Okay,
better.
so that's better.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
So that might be my problem is another concept thing is using my shoulder to try to get steep, which is not the right way to do it. Whereas what I really just need to do is get the club handle so that, like we've talked about, that it looks kind of like this at impact, right?
Yes, and that's because this is 54 degrees, I believe,
Okay.
yeah. And if that's 54 degrees.
sure.
So look where the handle is. It's this far in front of the head. That would be a 7 or 8 minus attack angle if I was at impact like this. And so when you're 0, but that's 54 degrees. And so when you're just 1, when that's only an inch in front of the leading edge, I'm not 54 anymore. I'm like 60 degrees aloft.
Yeah.
Because I have the handle leaned back and I add loft.
Interesting.
And so then I don't have spin and it doesn't go as far as it's supposed to. Let me hit one.
Yeah.
I haven't hit anything today, so no laughing. But you'll see that attack angle for me goes to -7. I got 8,900 spin.
Yep.
Do you see that? And my face to path slightly open there, but my club path is 0. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that was a 55-yard carry shot, okay?
I've never seen a wedge of mine recently go to the right like that without it being a shank. So that's interesting.
Yep. So, but that's what we've got to feel like going back. And again, 9,100 spin, -7 attack angle, face to path is 0, 60-yard shot, just a half a swing. But that's kind of the numbers we're looking for. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. 4 inches in front
Yeah,
of the ball.
see, my lie angle 64 degrees.
Which
That's what
is
it should
perfect,
be.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
You're pretty good at this.
I am not. I'm not bad. I saw somebody on YouTube had the best swings on YouTube, and I'm not on there yet, but I probably have the best swing as a 60-year-old plus on YouTube.
You need to start a tournament of, yes.
I'm just kidding, but it's not bad, and but that's the kind of numbers we're looking for. Okay, and that's the spin tells you that. That's one of the cool things about TrackMan, and that's why I put all those different numbers up. Was because I wanted you to see your lie angle and I wanted you to see your spin. But I do think it's a combination of things that's causing left. The more the handle gets back this way, the more it goes left too. So your attack angle is causing it to go left.
Yeah.
Your lie angle is causing it to go left. Does that make sense? And so you've got 2 or 3 factors.
So I have another question now that you've got my brain spinning. So before we started doing YouTube together, months ago, years ago, you talked about a lot of good players have a feeling like this with their full swing. Is this something with wedges too that they have? This feel?
They probably do. But that's a great question, and it confuses a lot of people. But I still have to maintain this angle when I'm doing it. But with wedges, it's not as big a deal.
Okay.
What they're trying to do there is they're trying to make sure this club is in front of their chest and they're not like this at impact.
Right.
Especially
because that's going to cause a shank if they're out.
Well, it can. That's one of the things. Yeah. We'll do a whole thing on shanking. I would say no, that's not what causes a shank.
Okay.
Just as a teaser, everybody feels like when they shank it, they're like this, with the face wide open. Yeah. I would tell you that most players that shank it, 80% of the shanks, the face is actually closed at impact, but they hit it on the hosel, so it deflects to the right, and the face never touches the ball.
Interesting, okay.
Okay, and so most players shank it from an out-to-in path and a closed face. And you can kind of tell if that's you, because if you don't shank it and you hit it on the face,
it's going left.
It's going left.
Okay.
So I see that all the time where guys shank,
and then they
hit it 30 yards left with a sand wedge on the next swing.
So because it's a out to in path.
Yes. Now an in to out path can shank it too. So we'll get into all that when we talk about shanking. But so a poor path can cause you to hit it on the hosel. Predominantly, I would tell you, with the thousands of students I've worked with for 30 years, almost everybody that's higher than a 5 handicap that has the shanks are outside in.
Interesting.
Okay? So 80% of them are. And so I rarely see a high handicapper, 15 or higher, that's shanking it from being inside out.
Okay. Yeah.
They're always outside
Makes
in.
sense.
Yeah. So
cool.
But we'll talk about that in detail when we talk about shanking.
Okay.
All right.
Let me hit a couple more. I want to try that feel of getting that. I felt like I was kind of onto something with getting the handle.
Yep, you are onto something.
That's kind of a different conception I haven't thought much about before.
Good.
That was high.
It was, but that was good. That was still 0. That's why it was high, because it's still 0 on attack.
Okay.
Straight though.
What was do we have the launch angle on that one?
No, but I can look.
I'm just curious, because that seemed like it launched real high.
Oh, it did.
It might have been a 50-degree launch angle.
Launch angle was 38 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah. We've been averaging 29.
Yeah,
though.
so that's been perfect. That's right. We want to be between what they say at the forum,
27
and 30. That's
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was always taught 30.
That's the.
And my shots were always 28, so I was kind of happy at the forum when they said 27 to 30.
We went to a great event at the PGA show that they went through every bit of golf nerd data that you'd ever want to know.
Yes.
And that's one of the things they talked about is having your launch angle with wedges be 27 to 30, somewhere in that range. So
That's correct. It's called the Open Forum. They have it every year at the PGA show. Chris Como hosts it. And probably an audience of several hundred there, would you say?
Yeah, at least probably,
Yeah,
yeah, a few hundred.
yeah.
So.
And probably most of the top instructors in the country were there.
Absolutely, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So. Well, that's a little better. So I'm minus
know,
3
so
and
it's better.
6,000
Yep,
almost.
that's
so
better.
We're going the right direction.
So now
there.
when you get on TrackMan, when you're practicing, you know what to start looking for.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then if I can have the club
sure.
again, a pretty good drill for you, any of you that's trying to improve that. So I'd like my lead arm and the shaft to be 90 degrees hinged. I like this to be a good length of backswing. I find a lot of guys that get too long with wedges on the backswing end up losing that angle
get that cast
too
in,
early,
yeah.
yes. And so by shortening that up and stopping here where my lead arm's parallel to the ground and I have an L, I call this L, and then I have an L on this other side. But a pretty good drill is you can maintain that L until this lead hand gets to where the ball is between your feet, and that's when we're going to release it. So if I can be here and I can feel this like this, and then I can just hit little shots like that, trying to maintain that angle, okay? So that one wasn't as good as I can do, but pretty good drill to maintain that and work on that. That's probably not good either. Yeah, -4, but
You're dead straight on that one.
oh yeah. But pretty good drill to feel that angle and to work on attack angle. That was
that's
better.
great, yeah.
Makes sense. You can see
Yeah.
how straight they are. That's how straight you have to hit wedges to play good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've noticed. It's really frustrating when you get to 40 yards from the green and you hit a great shot, and then all you got to do is get it straight and you pull it left, or it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
So,
And the
especially
problem
when you
with the
make good
pulls is
contact.
they go too far.
That too, it
Right,
messes
they go
with your
10
distance
yards
control.
farther than your yardage, and so you're long left, and that's usually the worst place
Yeah,
to
then
be
you're
on
in a
most.
bunker or in a
Yes.
creek or
Yeah, out
something.
of bounds.
Yeah. So, okay, watch me do that drill real quick. So that.
Yeah, keep holding it. Keep going. Keep holding it.
So
To there, your
I think
hand-
I start to lose it
You
here.
do, absolutely.
Okay.
So you want to feel the glove hand get to the ball before
To the
you
ball.
release it.
Okay.
Your hands are pretty quick. They'll unhinge just as quick as they need to. So, especially with some practice.
How's that look?
Good. And one of the things I'll make a note of for any instructors watching, whenever you have students, especially with wedges, and they're working on stuff, don't ever get on this side of the ball in case they shank it and kill you. So it's one of the most important things for an instructor.
Protect yourself.
Yes, is knowing where to stand.
That's a good tip.
Yep, that's the tip. That's the best tip
Is
of the day.
that from experience you figured that one out?
Yes, but knock on wood, I haven't been hit in 25 years because.
So I'll try to keep that streak going. So here.
Yep, like that, and then release it.
Okay.
Not bad.
Hey, we're doing a little better.
I
there.
know,
Okay.
that was better.
That felt a little bit better. Still a little left, but the action felt better.
It did, I agree.
That's probably a good way to work on your lag for your full swing too, right?
Yeah, yes, it is. And you kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Helps your full swing, but your wedge play gets better at the same time.
Absolutely.
So there's no better way to work on it. That was even better, could you tell? Yeah. I can tell by the sound.
Yep.
Yeah. Look at that,
6,000.
like much straighter.
That's the best wedge shot I've hit
And
in
yes,
a long time.
at least in 2 days.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say 2 years maybe.
All right. Good. So that's
Oh,
look at there,
wow.
-8.
-8.
Patrick got to -8. That's a record.
Yeah, that's
7,700.
that's
Yeah,
great.
I know.
So I think
So that ball would stop on the green, one bounce, stop.
and that's a lot of problems is if I hit a good one, it's like it just
Keeps
rolls
going.
out. Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's a better launch angle too. You can see where it's hitting on the screen
Yep.
now too. Do you see that?
Oh, these are good.
I know. There's not near as much left, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your face to path was actually +1 on that one.
That's great. And you really ideally want that as close to 0 as you can, just so
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not
Especially
going,
with wedges.
Yeah, it's all about consistency.
Good. That's probably not as good. You hit the ceiling.
I was gonna
that
say it
time.
went higher, but
Yeah,
okay.
so you can see it was still, but still -2 is better than
Still
you.
better
You
than
can
0.
See that
Yeah.
You can see with more loft, you don't get more spin. You get
Mm-hmm.
less spin.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it's the pros. All of them are trying to keep their wedges low, right? Which is why the 30.
Low and spinning.
Yeah, low and spinning. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've said it before on here, but great players try to hit their wedges as low as they can.
Yep.
And
But with
driver
spin.
as high as they can
Yep.
with no spin.
Yeah,
on
it's like
driver.
they're
It's
opposites. You
opposites.
want high drives with no spin and low wedges with tons of spin.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. That's still pretty good.
That's still pretty good.
Oh, look at that. 0, 0.
I know, 0 face to path.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool.
0 spin axis.
Well, I think that's something for me to work on. I'm going to be doing that all week.
And one thing I'll mention, you know, we've got launch monitors and all this stuff today, but Harvey Pinnock was teaching people to hit low wedges 60 years
Yeah.
ago, okay, and 70 years ago. And what he would do is he would actually have a bench out on the driving range, and he would put it out in front
You got to hit
of
it
the player, and
under
they
the
have
bench.
to hit it under.
Yeah.
So the old timers knew this, you know, years ago from observation of good players. I
Yeah.
mean, he worked with Kite and Crenshaw. Kite's probably arguably the best wedge player ever lived.
Yeah.
Probably. And you know, he saw the shots they hit. He could tell they could hit it under the bench. And so he taught all these other players
How to
to
do
do
it.
the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. Without any video, anything, they were pretty much teaching the same thing that everybody thinks new today, but
Yeah.
it's really not new. It's just the ideas improve,
Sure.
and technology improves our data capture and where we can quantify it better.
Absolutely.
But the principles are timeless almost. I mean, they come around, and I think
It's
that's
pretty
neat.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. One of the things I remember, you know, one of my favorite books that I reviewed was from Dr. Bob Rotella, Golf's Not a Game of Perfect. And I believe it was it's either in his first book or his second book. There's a chapter on him working with Tom Kite. And I'm sure it's Rotella I'm thinking about. But for a year, I believe Kite won the U.S. Open in either 92 or 91. And it was at Pebble Beach. And for the year, he kept track of his up and down statistics. And for the whole year, he was like 90% that he got the ball up and down that year that he was at
Oh, my
Opens.
gosh.
So almost unbelievable. And what they talked about in the book was that the tour players back at that time thought 50% was good. So all the other tour players in the world were trying to just get it up and down half the time. They thought that was good. And then when Tom Kite proved that you could do it 9 out of 10 times, it really elevated all the wedge play on tour.
That makes
'cause
sense, yeah.
Everybody started practicing it a lot harder.
It's like
and
the first
they-
person to run the 4-minute mile.
Exactly.
Right?
I was
Yeah.
just going to say that.
Yeah.
Yes. They thought you'd die if you broke a 4-minute mile. That was what the doctors would say.
Yeah.
The human body couldn't do it.
Yep.
And then they did it, and then there was like a zillion guys did it in the next couple of years because they knew they could do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's the same thing with short game with that is they figured out they could do it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.